Okay, what I'm showing you guys today is the bow drill. That is the first friction fire out of the 4 that you should learn. It's also, I consider it to be the easiest, although when you get the hand drill down, as long as you have the right materials, you can do it just about as fast. Okay, pay attention to the little details. I don't talk much in the video.
What you're going to want to do is look for the inner bark of the different barks you have out there. You don't want the outer bark, it's too thick. That inner stringy bark, strip it out. You want about 2 handfuls. It might take a little bit. Okay, this is the ideal amount right here. That'll get it ignited. Prep it beforehand, have that ready to go for your ember. So here's a really important part, selecting the spindle. Roughly the length of your forearm, maybe a little bit longer. Do the A-OK sign, that will give you the width you're looking for. This is super important. Make sure that you then sharpen the edges to a point. That way, okay, be sure to sharpen both sides. Flip it over. This will hold in the cap a lot better. You'll also be able to put it down to the socket. It's going to make your job a lot easier. Even though there's a crack running in this particular spindle, if it's not very big, it won't cause big problems for you. Get a spindle that is as straight as possible. When you're bowing, it won't wobble on you, and it'll be a lot easier to keep it in place and keep proper form. This is super important. The hearth or fireboard, I like selecting a place about 3/4 of an inch in. Take your knife, put it in, pivot around, and make a nice socket for that spindle to go into. This portion of it I call setting the socket. All I do is make a depression, and then I'm going to allow the spindle to form that perfect space. Remember, we're just machining it in, making it perfect. Bow selection is important. I prefer a longer one. Leave the cordage loose. Wrap the spindle up in it. That will tighten that rope. Put the heavier end underneath your armpit, lighter end away. Once it's wrapped around, it will give you exactly the right tightness. There is a balance in between the two. Here you're going to need to select the cap piece. I like splitting a piece of wood. It's nice and rounded. Put your point in there with your knife. Set a notch. Very easy. This is going to save your hands. Try to find something that's comfortable, and you just need a slight depression. As the spindle rotates in there, it will do the rest. For those of you who are right-handed, place your left leg down on the hearth board, kneeling. Place the spindle in the socket, then place the cap piece on top. If you're right-handed, you'll be bowing with your right hand. Lock your arm into your knee, not out like this. Into your knee, that will keep proper posture. I like about 20 pounds of pressure, long bows. This is called setting the socket, putting in that perfect hole and using the spindle to do it. Keep going until you have a depression that is formed at this point. The residual dark dust around the outside is called char dust. Save it. This is the essence of your fire and how you'll get a coal eventually. Shave it down about a 1/4 inch. Make sure it's nice and flat. This will allow the char dust, which you're going to have pool out, as we saw after we set the socket formed around the outside, into one place onto your catch. Make sure that you cut all the way. You need to do this by doing a V-shaped cut. Shave off only a little bit at a time, and this is a more delicate process. Take your time. I want you to see the whole process in the video. So cut all the way from the top down to the bottom and continue. Think of it like a waterfall. I need it not to pool. I need it to flow all the way out so that all of our heat, that precious char dust that starts the fire, to do its job. In the end, it should look like this. Cut right into that socket. That's where the heat is. You can see it's cut all the way through. It's ready to go. After you set the socket, it's good to narrow the different points on the spindle. That'll make it so it doesn't rub on the outside. It'll make it for easier rotations. Once you've done both ends, you are now ready to go for your coal. Everything's machined, you're set to go. Placing the hearthboard over a piece of bark or a green leaf will catch all of the char dust you can see pouring out. This is exactly what you want to see. That black dust pouring out into one spot. It gets hotter and hotter. Also observe the white smoke. It gets darker and darker. You know that you're getting close. It does not take long when you apply proper pressure coupled with the best rotations. Now here, the pile is smoking on its own. This is how you know when you can stop. Take the spindle and tap the hearthboard. That'll make all the dust release itself. Be sure not to waste any of the residual dust that's built up on the outside. Put it on there. That is called your ember extender and will allow that coal to burn for longer. Typically you're out of breath. Wave it with your hand because it's hard to control your breath. Remember, this is dust and it will blow away easily. Be sure to protect it from the wind. This is a very gender state in which that coal can either live or die very quickly. At this point, the coal can sustain itself. It's ready to be transferred in to your ember nest. Make sure it's at this point before you do anything else. With control of your breath, you can blow on it very, very lightly. This will help oxygenate it even more. Now you're ready to transfer it into your ember nest. 2 handfuls of bark make a literal bird's nest. Push down a slight depression to make room for that coal. Pick up the piece of bark carefully. Do not let it drop. Now, transfer that in to that depression you've made into the ember nest and get all the dust you can. Keep it together. Don't let it fall apart. And if your bark is not fine enough, it'll fall through and it'll ruin everything. You can still fail at this point. Be so careful. Pick it up. Make sure the wind is going the opposite way and start blowing about 5 inches from the coal. Generally within about 3 breaths, you will blow it into life, like you're about to see now. And boom, you just started fire with sticks. It's an amazing feeling and everybody should have this skill. Make sure you have the 2 handfuls to light your tinder on fire. Congratulations, you're a bow driller.
Because I do bow drilling in one way. That's a way that's been very successful for me. If you find it's a little bit easier to adjust it, just keep the basic dynamics in there and adjust it to see how, suits you best. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Okay, you guys, you're amazing. The whole point is for you to be able to do it. I had great teachers and I want to pass it on. Thank you. Okay, guys. Catch you next time. Please be sure to like my video and subscribe, and that way I can always keep you up to date on what I'm doing, and we'll see you next time on the mountainside.